I was trapped in another soul-crushing company meeting, completely bored out of my mind. So, I pulled out my phone and secretly texted my online girlfriend, baby, I want to see you in that black slip dress tonight. Send me a picture, okay? But the very next second, my heart dropped into my stomach. That exact same message popped right up on the giant projector screen in the middle of the room. It was undeniably the exact text I had just sent. And what made it a million times worse? The sender's contact name was saved as Hubby. My current online girlfriend and I originally matched on a dating app. Neither of us had ever done a face reveal, but we clicked so perfectly that we quickly made our digital relationship official. I always push my luck with these little requests, eventually getting bold enough to ask her for some pretty revealing photos. The very first time she sent me a waist-down shot, my jaw hit the floor. Seriously, what kind of god-tier figure was this? Especially those long, slender legs. They were absolutely flawless. Holy crap, did you see that? That message was actually from the CEO's husband. Something about a black slip dress too. Hey man, wake up. Did you catch that? That message just now? That is straight up the gossip of the year. Meanwhile, I was still sitting there, completely paralyzed by shock. My coworker thought I was just dozing off and nudged me to look up at the front. When I finally raised my head, I locked eyes directly with the CEO and her cold, piercing glare. Terrified, I could only force an awkward smile and quickly duck my head back down. Under the CEO's terrifying scrutiny, the whispers in the room instantly died down. I kept my head down, my heart practically pounding right out of my chest. Just a moment later, my phone buzzed with a brand new message. Okay, I'll wear it for you when I get home tonight. I'm in a meeting right now, so let's chat later. Be a good boy. Mwah. This completely aloof, hardcore CEO actually acts cute in private. I never expected her to be so wild behind closed doors. The meeting hastily wrapped up, and I completely spaced out the entire walk back to my desk. Baby, why aren't you talking to me? I really was stuck in a meeting. Are you mad because I didn't reply fast enough? Come on, let me make it up to you, okay? My phone was absolutely flooded with unread texts, all from my online girlfriend. She genuinely thought I was ignoring her out of anger, but she had zero idea that I was just too terrified to reply. Suddenly, a super spicy photo of black stockings popped up on my screen. Wait a second. Aren't these the exact same black stockings the CEO was wearing at the meeting this morning? Even the style of the high heels is a perfect match. Just then, my manager stomped right over to my desk. Chens, what are you spacing out for? The CEO wants you in her office right now. Great, just freaking great. I was walking directly into the line of fire. I gripped my phone for dear life and hurried into the boss's office, standing stiffly before her. You asked to see me, boss? At this exact moment, I had zero fantasies left about my thrilling online romance. If she actually finds out I'm just one of her lowly employees, a brutal breakup is 100% guaranteed. The CEO was intensely typing away on her computer, all while my phone kept buzzing non-stop in my pocket. She finally looked up and shot me a deeply annoyed glare. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your workflow. I'll turn it off right this second. The agonizing, heavy silence dragged on for nearly 20 minutes before she finally stood up, gave me a horribly disappointed look, and stared me down. I saw you looking completely zoned out during the meeting this morning. You weren't paying attention at all. On top of that garbage performance, there was a massive screw-up in last month's project. You do know our company doesn't keep dead weight around, right? Hearing those harsh words, I physically shuddered. Was she really about to fire me? I'm truly sorry. I've been dealing with some rough family issues recently, so my head hasn't been in the right place. But please rest assured, a mistake like this will absolutely never happen again. But the hilarious, terrifying truth was that I had been on the phone with the terrifying woman standing right in front of me all night long. And the conversation got way too spicy, which is the real reason I didn't get a single wink of sleep. If there are any more slip-ups in the future, pack your things and get out of my building. With that cold threat, the CEO waved her hand and dismissed me. I stumbled back to my desk, having narrowly survived total disaster, only to see dozens of unread messages from her on my phone. I rubbed my furiously throbbing temples. Baby, please say something, okay? I'm just so incredibly annoyed today. That utterly useless employee completely botched the project last month and cost the company a ton of money again. Staring blankly at that last message she sent to my phone, I was utterly speechless. Wait a minute. Isn't she talking directly about me? What do you mean, useless employee? There. I actually just got completely chewed out by my own boss, so I didn't even dare to check my phone. You really should be a lot gentler with your subordinates, you know? It'd be even better if you just gave them a fat raise. You know, to really strengthen their loyalty to the company. I sent that risky text with a wicked smirk, already daydreaming about my paycheck next month. Just imagining it magically having an extra zero slapped on the end. But the very next second, I got a fierce reply. Which company is your terrible boss from? I'll totally take him out for you. How dare he ever yell at my baby? I just sighed heavily. So, she only focused on the part where I got yelled at and completely ignored my genius hint about a raise. Whatever, man, I'll just sit back and let nature take its hilarious course. After everyone else clocked out, I stayed behind at the dark office all by myself, desperately planning to salvage that massive project I messed up last month. Because at the very least, in the real world, I absolutely cannot look like a total loser in front of the CEO. Otherwise, how the hell am I ever supposed to win her heart? If I can absolutely crush it at work and make the drop-dead gorgeous CEO fall for me in real life, just picturing her killer curves had me chuckling like an absolute idiot. Why are you giggling here instead of going home after work? A freezing cold voice pierced from behind me. The hairs on my neck shot straight up. CEO, you haven't left yet? I am just putting in a little extra grind. Since there was a slip-up with last month's project, I really wanted to make up for it. She didn't say a single word. She just spun around and walked away. Watching my smoking hot boss leave, I couldn't help but smirk to myself. Baby, are you off work yet? I shot a text to the CEO and instantly got a reply. Just about to leave the office, getting ready to eat. Aren't I a good girl? Seeing the CEO chat with me in such a sweet tone, it was honestly hard to wrap my head around the fact that she was the exact same person as that ice-cold, bossy tyrant. So good. Here is a kiss. I quickly snapped a selfie of my lips, being super careful not to show a single inch of my work uniform. You are so bad. By the way, we have known each other for a while now. I want to see you. The CEO suddenly dropped this massive bombshell on me. It caught me completely off guard. Could it be that our daily digital flirting just isn't cutting it for her anymore? Does she want to take this into the real world? Now isn't the right time to meet. We still don't know each other that well. You meanie? Not well enough. You've already seen all my measurements. Thankfully, she didn't push the meetup issue too hard. And so, I sat there in the empty office, grinding out client proposals while shamelessly flirting with the CEO. It gave me this incredibly unique rush of adrenaline. Suddenly, I didn't expect her to rush back in such a frantic panic. She totally ignored me and bolted straight into her private office. Baby, I am so sorry. I left the slip dress you like at the office, and I couldn't get a black one. I only have a purple one. Do you like it? Right after, a photo popped up on my screen. I zoomed in and swear, I almost got a nosebleed right then and there. How the hell is this a slip dress? It is practically just 3 tiny strips of fabric. Aside from barely covering a few crucial spots, the rest is totally exposed. No, I cannot keep thinking about this. I shook my head violently, forcing my racing heart to calm down. I am at the office right now. There is an employee working overtime right outside. I can't call you today. So annoying. Why did he have to work overtime today of all days? Seeing that message, I instantly bristled with annoyance. Hold on, both of these guys are literally me. Why the massive double standard? Thinking about this, a brilliantly twisted idea hit me. I typed out a message with a downright wicked grin. Remember when you said you would listen to me the other day? Back in her office, the CEO's cheeks flushed a deep crimson red when she saw that text. Now, here is my very first command. Put on that tiny slip dress, throw a heavy coat over it, and take your employee out to dinner. The second I hit send, I put down my phone and quickly snapped right back into my hardworking employee character. Still, I couldn't suppress the wild excitement bubbling up inside me. Does this count as extreme roleplay? I don't know. I am not close with that employee at all. What if he accidentally catches a glimpse of something? Didn't you say you wanted to try something absolutely thrilling? Or we could just forget the whole thing? Honestly, I was completely shell-shocked when I first found out. I never in a million years expected my online girlfriend to be a secret masochist. And when it finally clicked that she was the CEO, I got insanely excited thinking about all the golden opportunities I would have in the future. I just couldn't help but put my master plan into action. All right, fine, I got it. Please don't be mad. After getting her reluctant text, I casually shut down my computer. Soon enough, the entire office fell dead silent. I pricked up my ears and quickly caught the faint rustling of fabric coming from the CEO's private office. I seriously had to fight back the overwhelming urge to bust the door down. The second the rustling stopped, I hurriedly stood up, pretending to pack up my stuff and head out. Right at that exact moment, the CEO strutted out of her office. I totally checked her out from the corner of my eye. Sure enough, she was wrapped up tight in a heavy coat. Just thinking about the flimsy little thing she was wearing underneath gave me a massive rush of excitement. Oh, CEO? You are heading out? I am just about done with my work, so I will be heading home now. Wait. The CEO abruptly stopped me in my tracks. I played totally dumb, looking at her with wide, curious eyes. It is getting late. I haven't eaten yet. Come have dinner with me. Those words were practically squeezed out through her fiercely gritted teeth. I acted super flattered and quickly tried to decline. Oh, no. You are way too kind. I was just working a little overtime. I couldn't possibly let you spend your hard-earned money on me. I will just grab something to eat at home. Cut the crap. If you don't come with me today, do not even bother coming to work tomorrow. With that brutal threat, she didn't give me a single chance to refuse and spun around to leave. Ding. My phone buzzed with a new message. Baby, what should I treat him to? I have never taken anyone out to eat before. Seeing the cold CEO walking ahead of me while acting so damn adorable on text, I almost burst out laughing. Why don't you just ask your employee? Maybe listening to someone else's opinion wouldn't be a bad idea. I obediently followed the CEO downstairs and hopped into a luxury car. CEO, thanks so much for treating me. Don't worry. I will definitely work hard and strive to. What do you want to eat? The CEO sliced my impassioned speech right in half, asking me with ice-cold indifference. I felt a sudden twinge of annoyance. I could not stop thinking about the crazy irony. The guy she is head over heels for is my online persona, while the real-life me is not even fit to shine her designer shoes. A wicked idea suddenly flashed through my mind. It was time to mess with her a little bit. Oh, let's go get some hot pot! Sweating it out in this sweltering weather and hitting the shower right after feels absolutely amazing. The ice-cold CEO clearly hesitated the second she heard the words hot pot. Catching that tiny slip in her composure, I immediately threw gasoline on the fire. Or, we could go somewhere else. Somewhere a lot cheaper. Is hot pot a little too pricey for you? Who would have thought that right after I dropped that line, the CEO would whip around and shoot me an absolutely lethal glare? Without a word, she stomped on the gas pedal, and the car shot forward like a rocket. We sat in dead silence the entire ride, as I sneaked glances at her perfectly expressionless face. I figured I must have struck a serious nerve with my teasing, but on the inside, I was practically dying of laughter. Go ahead and keep playing the untouchable Ice Queen. Keep acting all high and mighty. Just you wait. My little twisted mission of love is only just getting started today. Pretty soon, following my step-by-step directions, the CEO pulled up to a massively popular hot pot joint right around the corner. After stepping out of her luxury ride and seeing the jam-packed restaurant with that heavy, spicy scent of boiling broth filling the air, she froze again. She stood glued to the entrance for what felt like an eternity, while I just casually strolled inside, snagged a prime window seat, and made myself comfortable. I grabbed the greasy menu and started firing off my order. 10 minutes later, the mighty CEO finally tiptoed in cautiously and sat across from me, looking completely out of her element. Hey boss, it is blazing hot in here, and you are seriously still wearing that heavy coat? Why don't you take it off and cool down a bit? Saying that, I casually shrugged off my work jacket, completely exposing the short-sleeve shirt I had on underneath. The CEO kept her mouth shut, just shooting me another one of her trademark fierce glares. But the second her eyes locked onto my short-sleeve shirt, she visibly froze in shock. Catching that hyper-focused look in her eyes, I glanced down at my chest and went into an absolute state of panic. The shirt I was rocking right now was the exact same one I wore during our secret video calls. Oh man, am I about to get totally busted? No, the CEO replied with a cold, dismissive tone before looking down to mess with her phone. I let out a massive sigh of relief. Almost immediately, a text message pinged on my screen. Baby, my annoying employee is actually wearing the exact same shirt as you, but my darling definitely wears it 1,000,000 times better. Staring at that text glowing on my screen, I was left utterly speechless. It really is true. No matter how smart you are, being lovesick makes you completely blind. Then, do you think he looks anything like me? I gathered up every ounce of my courage and fired back that risky text. How is that even possible? In my heart, my baby is the absolute best. No matter who puts that shirt on, they will never look as incredibly handsome as you do. And just like that, an awkward silence settled in, as neither the CEO nor I spoke a single word out loud. We just minded our own business, completely glued to our phone screens. Even the poor waiter standing nearby started giving us the weirdest looks. I feel so weird right now, honestly a little shy. I was taking a sip of ice water when I read that message, and I did a full-blown spit take. I started coughing violently, hacking my lungs out and practically choking to death right there at the table. My ridiculous outburst instantly drew the CEO's sharp attention, and I scrambled to apologize. I thought to myself, this girl's choice of words is getting dangerously bold, sending such spicy texts in public. Yep, she is definitely a secret masochist. Fortunately, before things got any weirder, our steaming food was finally brought out to the table. I shoved my phone into my pocket and eagerly started digging right into the massive, mouth-watering feast sitting in front of me. Over on the CEO's side, seeing that her beloved online boyfriend was not replying anymore, she finally put her phone down and started eating too. As the minutes ticked by, the temperature around our boiling pot just kept rising. Even in a light short-sleeve shirt, my back was completely drenched in a layer of sweat. You can only imagine how the CEO, still stubbornly wearing that thick coat, must be absolutely roasting right now. I am going out for some fresh air. You just keep eating. Dropping that quick excuse, she practically bolted out the front door of the stuffy hot pot restaurant while I watched her through the glass window. I could clearly see the high and mighty CEO desperately flapping her heavy coat, trying to let some cool night air in. For some twisted reason, I felt an overwhelming wave of accomplishment watching her struggle. Hey there, babe. Looking a little hot and bothered. You need us big bros to step in and help you cool down? Out of nowhere, from the greasy food stalls next door, 3 heavily drunk men stumbled right over to her. Get lost. The CEO was clearly in absolutely no mood to deal with their trash. She just threw out that freezing cold remark and turned on her heel to head back inside. But those 3 drunken creeps were not about to just let it go. They aggressively stepped right up and violently yanked her sleeve. The CEO's coat was ripped wide open, and her pristine, delicate skin was suddenly exposed right in front of their greedy eyes. Seeing her looking so vulnerable, the 3 disgusting men practically started drooling on the pavement. Why are you playing all innocent and hard to get with us? Dressing like a total tease out here in the open, aren't you just begging to seduce some real men? The bald guy in the lead stepped up and roughly grabbed the CEO's wrist, trying to forcefully drag her into the alley. Reacting purely on instinct, the CEO slapped him dead across the face with everything she had. Unfortunately, the sheer difference in their physical strength was painfully obvious. The slap didn't do any real damage. Instead, it only made the sick creep even more dangerously excited. Oh, this little chick has got some serious fire in her, but I absolutely love taming wild horses. The 3 of them lunged forward, ready to swarm her and physically carry her off into the dark. By that terrifying moment, I had already smashed through the doors, rushing outside a split second before those filthy animals could lay another hand on my boss. I violently yanked the CEO away and pulled her protectively into my arms. Holding her trembling body close to my chest, I glared at the 3 men and snarled, "Listen up, you pathetic losers! If you have had way too much to drink, do yourselves a favor, go home, wash your ugly faces, and go to sleep. Or are you seriously not afraid of getting your asses brutally kicked for pulling this garbage?" The CEO was thrashing around like crazy, so I gave her a firm, unhesitating smack on the rear, and she instantly froze. I glared at the thugs blocking our path. "Where the hell did you clowns even pop out from?" The leader sneered. "Listen here, buddy. Don't ruin our good time, or we'll make sure you're drinking your meals through a straw in a hospital bed for the rest of your miserable life." Honestly, my blood was already boiling with rage. The stunning boss I brought out tonight almost got completely manhandled by these street trash punks. My woman isn't someone you lowlifes get to lay your filthy hands on, I growled. Right on cue, I caught the CEO shooting absolute daggers at me for that bold little claim. Not backing down for a second, I glared right back at her. I am literally saving your life here, and you are still giving me that icy death stare. Talk about ungrateful. Annoyed, I gave her another sharp smack on the backside just to make a point. The thug barked, "Listen here, kid. Whatever we want, we take. I highly suggest you mind your own damn business. Otherwise, you're going to be leaving here minus a few crucial body parts today." The three creeps didn't even bother wasting another breath on threats. Fueled by cheap booze and liquid courage, they practically lunged forward to snatch my boss away. Well, I wasn't about to waste any breath on them either. I violently shoved the CEO behind my back, grabbed the bald guy's outstretched arm, and twisted it with everything I had. Instantly, he let out a pathetic, ear-piercing scream like a slaughtered pig. If you two take one single step closer, I absolutely guarantee this guy's arm is going to snap in half, I warned. The bald guy wailed, "Ah, don't move. If you move, he's actually going to break my freaking arm. Next time you get wasted, go straight home and sleep it off. If you ever act this totally blind again, I will personally make sure you're missing a few pieces," I threatened. Watching the three of them pathetically scramble away in total defeat, I dusted off my hands, smiled proudly, and gave the CEO a knowing nod. See that? If it weren't for my heroic rescue today, you would be in serious trouble right now. Want to consider giving me a fat raise when we get back to the office? At this point, I was definitely riding high and feeling way too cocky. I boldly stepped forward and tried to smoothly throw my arm right around the CEO's delicate shoulder. The very next second, the entire world violently spun around me. By the time my dizzy brain processed what was happening, I was flat on my back on the hard concrete, with the CEO completely straddling me. She had me expertly pinned down in a flawless bone-crushing submission hold, rendering me completely immobilized. Whoa, wait, I panicked. With one of my arms hopelessly trapped in her vice grip, I frantically started tapping out on the ground with my only free hand. But the furious CEO showed absolutely zero signs of letting up. "Sister, you actually know martial arts? Why didn't you just say so earlier? Look, I swear this is all just a massive misunderstanding. You literally smacked my butt twice just now," she hissed dangerously. Left with zero options, I had to completely swallow my pride and beg for mercy. That was an extreme emergency situation. Look, there were three of those thugs and they were totally unhinged. I was just genuinely terrified that you were going to get seriously hurt. I just desperately needed you to calm down. Faced with my pathetic excuses, the CEO absolutely wasn't buying a single word of it. Instead, she ruthlessly twisted my arm even harder. "Ah, boss, I am begging you, please let me go," I shrieked. Oh God, this horrific feeling of desperately wanting to struggle, but being too terrified to move is absolute pure torture. "This woman is straight up ruthless. You completely crossed the line," she snapped coldly. "Keep in mind, you are nothing more than my employee." I was fully prepared to fiercely argue back. But then it suddenly dawned on me that the two of us were tangled together in an insanely compromising, steamy position, and my wandering line of sight just so happened to lock onto some very private places I definitely had no business looking at. Boss, you really like the color purple, don't you?" I seriously just couldn't keep my stupid big mouth shut. I mean, if you're going to accidentally peek, just peek silently. Why the hell did I have to blurt it out loud? I am so dead now. The CEO completely froze for a split second when she heard that ridiculous comment. Then, she slowly followed my blatantly perverted gaze, locked right onto her. Exactly 30 minutes later, I was sitting in the emergency room, my broken left arm secured in a heavy cast and supported by an embarrassing neck sling, looking as thoroughly pathetic as humanly possible. See, what did I just tell you? Acting on pure impulse is the actual devil. The absolute unadulterated devil. Just fantastic. "Well, your absolute most outstanding employee has tragically lost his ability to work," I groaned. She crossed her arms. "Then you don't need to bother coming in tomorrow. Consider yourself fired." Even though the ice-cold CEO said those harsh words, I could catch a fleeting hint of genuine guilt flashing in her eyes. Catching that subtle weakness, I cheekily leaned in again and teased, "Everyone always says you treat your staff so well. I really don't believe you'd actually fire me that easily. Besides, I totally saved your skin and got you out of a massive jam back there. You were just being a nosy nuisance, she scoffed defensively. The flustered CEO abruptly stood up after dropping that line and stormed off toward the quiet emergency stairwell. I proudly watched her retreating back, the corners of my mouth curling up into a knowing smirk, exactly as I expected. Right when I pulled out my own phone, a sweet notification suddenly popped up. The text read, "Darling, I am so incredibly sorry. I can't keep you company online tonight. I have some super urgent things to take care of on my end." The secret messages from the CEO kept rolling in. Did something bad happen? I casually typed back to my virtual girlfriend, playfully glancing down at my newly bandaged, broken left arm. I just smiled helplessly at the sheer irony. Her reply came fast. No, it's just some annoying project issues at the company that desperately needs sorting out. I will be completely swamped tonight. Please don't wait up for me, babe. I will definitely make it up to you next time. Reading that, I seriously couldn't stop complaining and rolling my eyes inside my own head. You conveniently forgot to mention a single damn word about brutally snapping my arm in half. Company projects my ass. But whatever. I will generously let you off the hook for today. Before I even realized it, the real-life CEO was suddenly standing right in front of me again, arms crossed. What exactly are you smiling at, like an idiot? Seeing my ridiculously smug grin, she interrogated me with a dark, terrifyingly cold expression. I immediately wiped the goofy smile right off my face and shook my head innocently, pretending it was absolutely nothing. Where do you even live? I will drive you home myself. You are officially on paid leave. Do not even think about coming back to work until that arm is 100% healed. The CEO abruptly spun on her heels and walked away, completely refusing to give me even a split second to speak. Left with absolutely no other choice, I obediently trailed right behind her out of the hospital doors. Sitting in the suffocating silence of her sleek car, she demanded, "Give me your exact address. I will drop you off." It really seemed like the boss had zero interest in having a cozy chat with me right now. Honestly, it was probably just because my sudden, messy appearance completely ruined her sweet plans to flirt with her online boyfriend tonight. So now she was just taking out all her pent-up frustration directly on me. I dug into my pocket with my good hand, then looked up at the CEO with the most pathetic, helpless expression I could muster. I lost my keys. I don't know if they fell out when I was fighting off those guys for you, or if they dropped when you were straddling me. But either way, I can't go home now. The moment the word straddling left my mouth, the icy CEO's face instantly flushed bright red. She shot me a fierce, murderous glare. The very next second, she grabbed my cast-covered arm and hissed, "If you ever dare bring that up again, I will shatter this arm into a million pieces. Understood?" Seeing her vicious glare, I couldn't help but gulp hard, instinctively nodding my head. The CEO pulled her hand back, pausing to think for a moment. "I'll take you to a hotel. You can recover there. I'll cover all the expenses." "No way! Ouch! My arm hurts. It's way too inconvenient to do anything all alone in a hotel room, and I won't have anyone to take care of me." Ugh, I guess no good deed goes unpunished. Huh? Did she really think she could just dump me at a hotel? I absolutely refuse to let that happen. If I go to a hotel, how am I supposed to get close to her? So I started throwing a full-blown tantrum. I spent the whole night helping you out of the goodness of my heart. And now you're just going to make me stay in a hotel all by myself? Seriously, no good deed goes unpunished. Fine. You are coming to my place. Tomorrow, I will call a locksmith for you. Once your door is fixed, you are going straight home. Stop causing so much trouble for me. Finally, after my relentless pestering, the CEO couldn't take it anymore and decided to take me home for the night. Even though it wasn't exactly what I had planned since I originally intended to move in permanently, this really wasn't a bad start at all. At least I get to see the CEO's private sanctuary. I'm probably the very first person in the entire company to do so. Honestly, I was already pretty satisfied with this outcome. The CEO drove in dead silence with a dark expression on her face, while I lounged comfortably in the passenger seat. Soon, the CEO pulled into an insanely luxurious residential complex. As soon as we entered the gates, I was looking around in pure awe. Even in the dead of night, the scenery inside looked like a massive royal estate. It was absolutely breathtaking. Looking exactly like a country bumpkin, my jaw literally dropped. The CEO walked over with a massive scowl, grabbed my arm, and aggressively dragged me away. Because to her, I was being incredibly embarrassing. Hey, old Lou, was that person just now the one they call the complex's Ice Queen CEO? I've never seen her bring an outsider home before. There is nothing weird about it, man. Women need a little companionship when they reach a certain age. It is just that the guy's a bit of an embarrassment getting dragged along by the CEO like that. I had absolutely no idea how the security guards at the front gate were currently gossiping about us. When we finally reached her building, the CEO breathed a heavy sigh of relief. Thankfully, we hadn't run into anyone she knew along the way. If they had seen her bringing a strange man home, who knows what kind of wild rumors would start. And it was only right then that the CEO realized she was still tightly holding onto my arm. It's totally fine. I don't mind at all. I definitely won't accuse you of taking advantage of me, I said with a cheeky, teasing grin. It was painfully obvious. If the CEO didn't feel terribly guilty about injuring my arm earlier, she probably would have slapped me to death by now. Watching the CEO unlock her front door, I was practically vibrating with sheer excitement. Finally, I am going to be the very first man to ever enter her house. But as the lights in the room flicked on, and I got a full view of the CEO's place, I was completely and utterly stunned. Who would have thought her interior design taste was as horribly old-fashioned as my grandpa's? Boss, you live in such a massive house all by yourself, and the decor is this minimalist. That is right. The home of a highly successful listed company's CEO had absolutely nothing in it besides a few basic pieces of furniture. It made the entire place feel incredibly cold and empty. Your room is on the first floor to the left, right near the bathroom. You will sleep there tonight. Do not wander around. If I catch you sneaking upstairs, do not blame me for calling the cops. The CEO laid down the strict ground rules, then headed straight upstairs. Soon, the sound of running water came from her upstairs bathroom. Bored out of my mind, I sat down on the living room sofa and started really examining the place. A stark, black and white color scheme. Not even a single houseplant in sight. For a young woman, having some cute pink decorations in the living room would be completely normal, right? At that exact moment, my heart ached a little for her. In real life, she is a powerful CEO who has to keep absolutely everything under perfect control. But online, she is just a sweet, fragile girl venting to me about her daily struggles every single day. Right then and there, I made a firm decision. I was going to change her. I was going to completely unleash the cheerful, shy little girl that was hidden deep down inside her. Just then, my stomach growled embarrassingly loud. We were originally supposed to eat hot pot tonight, but after everything that happened, I was absolutely starving. I was just about to get up and make something to eat myself. But suddenly, I really wanted to see just how good my online girlfriend's cooking skills actually were. So, I bravely endured the hunger and waited for her to finish showering. Over an hour later, just as I was about to literally pass out from starvation, the CEO finally came out. Looking down from the second floor at my half-dead body sprawled on the couch, she raised an eyebrow. Why aren't you resting? I'm starving. So hungry, I can't even close my eyes. The CEO just stared at me, completely exasperated. She sighed, came downstairs, and tossed a carton of cold milk from the fridge straight at my chest. Drink this and go to bed. I'll take you home tomorrow. Come on, boss. Is this how you treat your star employee? I whined. At least make me a bowl of noodles. Neither of us has eaten a real meal tonight. Starving me is basically torturing yourself too, you know? Hearing that, her face instantly darkened, fighting the very real urge to strangle me on the spot. Still, she cracked open the fridge, yanked out some ingredients, fired up the stove, and started boiling water. I kicked back and closed my eyes. Listening to the icy CEO actually bustling around in the kitchen for me, I started daydreaming about what we should name our future kids. Wait. Come to think of it, we hadn't even told each other our real names yet. Just as my daydream hit the part where our imaginary twins started elementary school, a harsh, burning smell snapped me back to reality. I jumped up and caught the CEO completely panicking, dumping a pot of pitch-black noodles straight into the trash. Then she started frantically scrubbing the pot. Look, she's a billionaire CEO. She never cooks. It's totally normal to get nervous and mess up your first time, right? Completely understandable. At least that's what I told myself to keep from panicking. But then I watched her grab a handful of totally unwashed vegetables, snap them in half, and chuck them straight into the boiling water. She followed it up by tossing in a brick of dry noodles. Okay, maybe the veggies were pre-washed before hitting the fridge? A little dirt builds character, right? I kept desperately trying to comfort myself. But the moment she cracked an egg, dropped half the shell into the pot, and completely ignored it. I leaped right off the couch. Nope. This woman was definitely trying to assassinate me. I couldn't let her continue this culinary disaster. Boss, how about I take over? You don't seem super experienced. I literally had to rack my brain to find a polite word like experienced. Just let me try one more time, she pleaded. Next time. I promise, next time. I'll definitely get it right. Looking at her stubborn, flustered face, it hit me. She wasn't just inexperienced. She literally had zero clue how a kitchen worked. Seeing the almighty boss look so incredibly lost, my heart actually melted a little. Boss, just go rest. I'll handle this. With that, I hijacked the kitchen and made her sit on the sidelines. Partly because I felt bad for a girl who had clearly never lifted a finger to cook, but was still trying her hardest just for me, and partly because if she cooked, I was gonna literally starve to death. I expertly scrubbed the pot, filled it with fresh water, and tossed the noodles in the second it boiled, washing the greens with my free hand. The CEO sat quietly behind me, watching me skillfully juggle the utensils she had treated like alien artifacts. She looked absolutely mesmerized, completely shocked that cooking could look so effortless. I didn't even notice her staring. Moving at lightning speed, I cracked 2 eggs into the bubbling broth, let them poach, counted exactly to 10, and scooped them out. I carefully placed the poached eggs right on top of the steaming noodles, then gently pierced them with a chopstick. A perfect golden river of yolk oozed out. Finally, I finished it off with a few drops of toasted sesame oil. Instantly, a rich, mouth-watering aroma filled the entire room. Still hungry? Come try this. I cook for myself all the time, so I'm pretty confident in my skills. I carried the piping hot bowls over and slid one right in front of the CEO. Even though it's just a simple bowl of vegetarian noodles, my handiwork made it look absolutely pristine and ridiculously appetizing. That golden, runny yolk on top, garnished with a few fresh green leaves, completely elevated the whole dish to a 5-star level. Setting my own bowl on the coffee table, I grabbed a huge mouthful with my chopsticks, blew on it, and practically shoved it into my mouth. Man, I was starving. Do you cook often? The CEO's voice wasn't cold anymore. It was actually warm and full of curiosity. Yeah, I live alone, I mumbled between bites. If I don't cook, ordering takeout every single day drains the wallet pretty fast. Plus, takeout is sketchy. You never know what kind of junk they're sneaking into your food. It's just way safer to eat your own cooking. Watching me absolutely devour my bowl, the CEO finally took a small, hesitant bite. Instantly, her eyes lit up like fireworks. It had been years since she tasted noodles this incredible. The warmth and flavor even brought back bittersweet memories of her own mother's cooking. Boss, when you're done, just head upstairs and crash. Leave the rest to me. I'll clean everything up before I hit the hay. In that moment, I felt like the ultimate manly man in front of my beautiful boss. My ego was through the roof. What about your arm? She asked softly. Looking at my heavy cast-covered left arm, the CEO's eyes filled with genuine worry. Wow. I never expected the Ice Queen to actually care about me. I just turned and flashed her a confident smile, waving off the pain. I had already caused her way too much trouble today. I wasn't about to just sit around being useless. After we finished eating, I practically had to force the CEO to go upstairs and get some sleep. I gathered up the dishes and dumped them in the sink. Right as I started scrubbing, my phone buzzed with a text. Good night, darling. I smiled. Good night. The very next morning, when the CEO stepped out of her bedroom, the first thing she saw was a man in an apron, already bustling away in her kitchen. Sweat was already pouring down my forehead. I had been busting my butt in the kitchen since 6 in the morning, but this masterpiece of a breakfast was finally coming together. What are you doing? She asked. Her face was totally wiped clean of that soft, vulnerable girl I had seen just last night. Instead, she had snapped right back to her signature icy CEO glare. "Just whipping up a breakfast cooked with love," I joked. "Since you clearly don't know your way around a kitchen, I bet you never even eat in the mornings. Plus, seeing as I'm off the clock right now, I figured I'd whip something up." My boss didn't even blink. She just pulled up a chair and watched me work with zero expression on her face. Out of nowhere, she broke the silence. "I'll drop you off at home after we eat." My hand jolted mid-egg flip. Damn, I guess my time here is officially up. "All right. Sorry for being such a burden," I said. Grabbing the hot plate of fried eggs, I pasted on a smile, turned around and walked over to her. The CEO stayed dead silent. She just grabbed a piece of toast, slid a fried egg inside, and took a huge bite. Instantly, I saw a massive shift in her eyes. It was pure, unadulterated shock. "You don't have anything pressing to do at home, do you?" she suddenly asked. That completely caught me off guard. Nothing crazy. If you need me to, I can just work remotely." "Actually, I gave it some thought last night," she said. "Since you got hurt while on the clock, the company really ought to cover your meals. And since I literally never have time to cook, I'll supply the cash and you can handle the meals. Think of it as a nice little food allowance. How does that sound?" My boss somehow kept a totally straight face, casually proposing this while happily munching on her egg sandwich. Oh, I knew exactly what she was playing at. It was painfully obvious that my late-night bowl of noodles had totally conquered her stomach. "Oh, right. I totally would have forgotten if you hadn't brought it up. I lied smoothly. I actually need someone to help change the bandages on my arm anyway. Why don't I just crash at your place for a bit and be your own personal chef? Deal?" Just like that, we struck a perfect bargain. I desperately needed an excuse to stay close to her, and she desperately needed good food every single day. And boom, I was officially moving in with my ice-cold CEO. Once breakfast was done, the boss headed off to the office, leaving me at her place to awkwardly clean up the kitchen with my one good hand. Exhausted, I crashed onto her sofa and shot a text to her secret online account. "Good morning, babe." She just replied with a brief morning. I knew exactly why she was feeling incredibly guilty right now. To her, it felt dangerously close to cheating. She was in a committed online relationship, yet she had just let another guy move right into her home. Desperate to shake off that nagging guilt, she completely buried herself in paperwork for the entire morning. By the time she signed the very last document, she was totally drained. She literally had to brace herself against the desk just to stand up. "Babe, work is absolutely killing me today. My back is in so much pain," she texted me, finally letting her guard down to complain. The funny thing is, she hadn't even realized that ever since I crashed at her house in real life, we hadn't flirted online for a full 24 hours. She might have been totally oblivious to that little detail, but as the guy playing both roles, I felt the shift big time. "Then you really need to watch your posture," I texted back. "Don't sit for too long, okay? Make sure you get up and stretch. Be a good girl. I love you." Back in her office, she slumped on the sofa, massaging her sore back. But the only thing flashing through her mind was the image of me cooking for her the night before. It was the absolute first time she had ever let an outsider see her so raw and vulnerable. Her flawless, untouchable image had completely shattered right then and there. All her fierce independence, that stubborn, icy armor she always wore, had completely crumbled to dust in front of me. I grabbed my phone and made a call. "Hey, is this the medical supply store? I need to order an orthopedic back brace, preferably one with a built-in heating pad for cramps." Hanging up, I kicked back on her fancy couch with a massive grin. Man, playing both the supportive boyfriend and the loyal employee felt exactly like using cheat codes in a video game. Thanks to our secret chats, I had absolute 100% foresight into her every need. She didn't message her online boyfriend for the rest of the day. Meanwhile, I strolled around her place with a notepad, jotting down ideas. My mission was simple: completely transform this depressing apartment. I mean, seriously, any girl living in this lifeless black and white void is basically guaranteed to get depressed sooner or later. So, the two of us just went about our crazy busy days. When my phone finally buzzed later that evening, it was a surprise video call from the boss herself. "Get down to the lobby and help me carry some stuff," she ordered. But when I got downstairs and saw the absolute madness waiting for me, I lost my mind. My pristine CEO was standing between two massive shopping carts, both packed to the absolute brim. "I wasn't entirely sure what you needed," she muttered, "so I just bought a little bit of everything. And I really want grilled fish for dinner tonight," she added. She looked super flustered, asking for it, but I knew this was a massive breakthrough. She was finally opening up and expressing what she wanted. But man, considering I only had one working arm, even with the two of us teaming up, hauling that literal mountain of groceries up to the penthouse was an absolute nightmare. It took some seriously Herculean effort, but the boss and I finally dragged every last bag into the apartment. Staring at the living room that was now overflowing with normal, everyday stuff, man, it finally felt like a real home. Totally abandoning her untouchable aura, she just collapsed face first onto the couch. She weakly rubbed her temples. It was painfully obvious that today had completely wiped her out. As I started stocking the fridge with a massive haul, item by item, I threw a glance her way. Look, boss, you really don't need to push yourself this hard, you know? You have to actually give yourself a second to breathe. She didn't say a single word back. At first, I just figured she was giving me the silent treatment. But the second I finished packing everything up and turned around, there she was, completely passed out on the couch. I tiptoed over, grabbed a soft blanket from the side, and gently draped it over her shoulders. Then I took the heating pad I'd bought earlier and left it right where she would see it the moment she woke up. After that, humming a happy little tune, I headed to the kitchen to start on the grilled fish. Honestly, it totally felt like I was cooking a warm dinner for my exhausted wife coming home from a long day at the office. After a solid hour of hustling in the kitchen, I finally slid the fish into the roasting pan. Right on cue, the boss lady stirred awake, noticing the warm blanket tucked around her. She bolted upright, but the moment she saw me busy at the stove, she let out a long, heavy sigh of relief. She had never, ever let her guard down to sleep that deeply around a stranger. Was she actually starting to feel safe around me? Just then, her eyes locked onto the coffee table and the heating pad sitting there. I ordered that for you, I called out. Seeing how much you struggle lugging all that heavy stuff around, I figured your back had to be killing you. Plus, I took a peek at the calendar and it's probably getting close to that time of the month. So, I just went ahead and got you a heating wrap. I picked up some brown sugar for you too. While your stomach can still handle heavy food these next few days, I'll make sure to cook you some seriously good meals. I didn't even look back as I said it, keeping my hands busy with the cooking. But I could perfectly picture just how blown away our ice-cold CEO would be hearing that. Sure enough, she was staring blankly at the heating pad in her hands and the brown sugar waiting on the side. She just sat there frozen, totally overwhelmed by a wave of emotion. For years, she had been fighting her battles completely alone. Nobody had ever cared for her like this. Hell, even her online boyfriend only ever tossed her cheap words of comfort. But the guy standing right in front of her, he was paying attention to every little detail. She just kept staring at my back. She didn't even realize she was absolutely captivated. Bam, done. With the final garnish, my signature grilled fish was finally ready, paired perfectly with fresh oysters and fluffy rice. I brought the sizzling fish and all the side dishes over, setting them down on the coffee table. The boss still hadn't snapped out of her daze. Her eyes were just glued to me. Hey, Earth to CEO. Time to eat, I teased. There's no food on my face, you know. I waved my chopsticks right in front of her nose. Watching her jump back to reality, I grabbed my bowl and took a seat on the opposite side of the table. You're the big boss, and I'm just the guy you hired to cook. Naturally, I can't be sitting right next to the master of the house. I know my place. With that little jab completely ignoring whatever face she was making, I happily dug right into my bowl of rice. She picked up a piece of the fish and took a bite. Instantly, her eyes lit up like fireworks. She was just about to dish out a massive compliment, but then she looked over. She saw me awkwardly favoring my injured arm, smiling like an idiot just waiting for my praise. Well, does it taste good? I asked. She took one look at my smug, confident grin and immediately scoffed. It's just average. Maybe a tiny bit better than cheap street food. Hearing that, my goofy smile instantly froze. A crushing wave of defeat washed right over me, but from an angle I couldn't quite see. She noticed my crushed expression, and a tiny, satisfied smirk tugged at the corner of her mouth. Just as I was seriously doubting my own culinary skills, I suddenly realized something. Her rice bowl was already totally empty. Her cheeks were actually flushed, bright pink, and fine beads of sweat were forming on her forehead. She kept drawing in these quick, sharp breaths. I was laughing my head off on the inside. You stubborn little rascal, let's see just how long you can keep up this tough act. Is it a bit too spicy? I asked innocently. You never told me you couldn't handle the heat. I stood up and strolled over to the fridge as she fired back. Who said that? It's just a little hot in here, that's all. By now, her lips were literally parted from the intense spice. Honestly, she looked incredibly cute and totally alluring right then. I walked back over and set an ice-cold carton of peanut milk right in front of her. Stop torturing yourself. Drink this, it cuts right through the spice. Aunt Flo is visiting in a few days anyway. Eating too much heavy, spicy food right now is terrible for your body. She stared at the peanut milk, but the second I mentioned her period, her cheeks flushed an even deeper shade of red. How did you know my, is coming? It's hanging right there on the wall, I said, pointing past her shoulder straight at the calendar. At first, I was wondering why you had these little circles drawn on it every single month. After doing some quick math, I figured out it was tracking the days your period came. You haven't marked this month yet, but counting the days, it's right about that time. Hearing that, the usually bossy CEO completely lost her voice. She just lowered her head in pure embarrassment. She claimed my cooking was average, yet she proceeded to demolish half the fish all by herself. Stuffed and happy, she collapsed onto the sofa. Then, going right back into boss mode like she was ordering around a servant, she pointed grandly at the mess on the table and declared, "I am very satisfied with tonight's dinner. Keep up the good work." After I cleaned up the table and put everything away, I brewed a piping hot cup of brown sugar water and set it gently in front of her. Make sure you drink this once it cools down a bit. If you start prepping your body right now, the cramps won't hurt nearly as much when the time actually comes. She lay flat on her stomach on the sofa, just muttering a soft without arguing back. Honestly, lying on your stomach right after eating is a terrible habit. Your lower back is killing you, yet here you are, sprawled out on your stomach on the sofa, I gently scolded. You know you can't put too much pressure on that area, right? I honestly don't know where I found the guts. But as the words left my mouth, I confidently placed my hands right on my cold CEO's lower back. I pressed down firmly with my right hand, and her tense spine let out a satisfying pop. She blinked, looking up at me in total surprise, as the sharp pain instantly melted away. Putting constant pressure on your bones like that is going to mess up your alignment. You really need to be careful with this from now on. You have to take care of yourself, boss. If you completely collapse on me, who's going to sign my paychecks? Dropping that little joke, I turned my back and started scrubbing the kitchen. Deep down, I knew I couldn't keep crossing the line like this. Being way too eager to please would eventually just make her push me away. Keeping our dynamic perfectly lukewarm was the only way I could survive living under her roof. After all, they do say distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? I at least had enough sense to play it cool. Later, I pulled out my phone and messaged her from my secret account. "Baby, are you feeling any better? Work was absolutely crazy today." I didn't even have a second to text you. Her reply came quickly. "I'm doing a lot better, but it still aches sometimes, and you're not here with me. When the pain flares up, I don't have anyone to take care of me. I really don't know when we'll finally get to meet face to face. I've been begging to voice call lately, but you always shoot me down. You never show your face on video either. It honestly feels like we're sneaking around in some forbidden underground romance. I just want to see you so badly." Staring at those vulnerable texts from my strict boss, my head was completely spinning. I had literally just waited on her hand and foot in real life. I took such incredibly good care of her that even I was moved by my own dedication. Plus, I hadn't dared to flirt with her online lately because I was literally crashing at her place. The exact second I accepted a voice call, my secret identity would be instantly blown to pieces. I quickly changed the subject. "Have you eaten yet? Tell me what you're craving, and I'll order it for you." She replied, "No need. I've actually been learning how to cook for myself lately. I whipped up some grilled fish today. Pretty impressive, huh?" A second later, she sent a picture of the delicious grilled fish, the exact same dish that I had just cooked for her. I made that. In that agonizing moment, I felt like a total loser. This girl was literally taking credit for my cooking just to impress some other guy online. Sure, that other guy was technically me, but getting completely played by my own virtual persona still felt incredibly awful, no matter how I spun it. I typed back, "Oh, by the way, I might have to head out on a long business trip soon. A sudden work transfer requires me to do a field inspection deep in the remote mountains. The cell service is terrible out there, so you probably won't be able to reach me for a week or two. So I just wanted to give you a heads up in advance so you wouldn't worry. After hitting send, I casually scrolled all the way to the bottom of my camera roll and fired off an old picture of my rural hometown. Just last night, I had masterminded this exact plan. My ultimate goal? To use this 2-week radio silence to force my boss to fall head over heels for the real-life me, instead of the digital phantom she was obsessed with online. I even gave this genius operation a code name. Old Mo. I want to eat fish. Since I had suddenly dropped the bombshell about going off the grid, she clung to me. The CEO and I ended up texting for hours that night, reminiscing about how we first met online, all the way to sharing funny little anecdotes about our daily routines. I even spammed her with a bunch of scenic photos of my hometown, just to lock in my solid alibi that I was really going away for work. The grand consequence of texting my boss all night, waking up the next morning sporting 2 massive, dark panda bags under my eyes. I groggily whipped up her breakfast, and the very second I watched her walk out the door for work, I face-planted onto the sofa to desperately catch up on my sleep. When I finally forced my heavy eyes open again, my boss was looming right over me, clutching a thick stack of documents. "Oh, you're back already. Is it time to start on dinner?" I mumbled. Instinctively, I scrambled to my feet to go grab my cooking apron, but she immediately held up a hand to stop me. "Starting today, you'll be working strictly from home. You remember that massive project you completely fumbled last month? Well, the business partner specifically requested that you be the one to fix it. So, your timeline just got completely expedited. This collaboration is do or die for the company, which means I need you to finalize this entire proposal before midnight. Tomorrow morning, I'm taking you with me to negotiate directly with them." Staring at her intense expression, I could instantly tell how incredibly high the stakes were for her. Her tone was way heavier and far more serious than usual. "Okay, got it," I stammered, "but what about your dinner?" To my absolute shock, the pristine CEO simply rolled up her elegant sleeves and marched straight toward the kitchen. "I'll handle cooking tonight. You just put all your focus into perfecting that pitch." I was highly skeptical that she wouldn't burn the house down, but I kept my mouth shut. This proposal was my only shot at redemption, so I really couldn't refuse. I booted up my laptop, and just as I was falling into a deep state of focus, completely engrossed in revising the numbers, a blood-curdling shriek completely shattered my concentration. I whipped my head around to see my boss desperately shaking her hand, screaming in sheer panic. A live scallop had clamped its heavy shell firmly onto her delicate finger. Acting on pure adrenaline, I lunged forward, grabbing her trembling hand. "Don't move," I commanded. Flexing my grip, I forcefully pried the stubborn shell open with my own 2 fingers. With a quick grunt of effort, I managed to yank her poor finger free. "You're a full-grown adult, boss. How on earth can you be this incredibly careless in the kitchen?" Without letting go of her soft hand, I quickly rummaged through the nearby cabinet and yanked out the first aid kit. Grabbing some medical gauze and iodine, I immediately started treating the wound. First, I took a soft cotton ball to carefully dab the tiny bleeding bite dry. I even leaned in and blew on it gently, totally coaxing her like she was a frightened little kid. After that, I dabbed on a bit of iodine to thoroughly disinfect the cut before expertly wrapping her finger up in a neat, careful little bandage. Stepping back to admire my handiwork, I suddenly noticed her face was glowing as bright red as a cooked shrimp. It was only then that it hit me. I was still tightly holding her hand in mine. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to overstep. I'll just handle the cooking tonight. After a rather quiet dinner, she silently took on the grueling chore of washing the dishes, while I retreated back to the coffee table to grind out the rest of the proposal. Listen to me, this new business partner was an absolute moron. They based their entire pitch on the absolute biggest, hottest apps blowing up the market right now. And their demand? Crush those titans and steal all their traffic. The second I saw this proposal, I knew it was a total suicide mission. I mean, seriously, whose brain short-circuited enough to actually agree to this? Well, the client threw a mountain of cash at us. The kind of money you just don't say no to. But the penalty for screwing up? Astronomically high. High enough to bankrupt our entire company overnight. I was completely backed into a corner. Taking this on was a direct order from the CEO herself. And the cherry on top? The client specifically requested me. So, I had to bite the bullet, frantically tweaking their garbage proposal with aggressive traffic driving strategies. Suddenly, I heard her voice. "Get some rest once you finish revising." I looked up to see the CEO setting a fresh, steaming cup of coffee right on my desk. She didn't say another word, just turned and headed upstairs. I watched her stunning long legs disappear up the steps, and for some crazy reason, my heart actually skipped a beat. But I kept grinding, trashing, and rewriting that proposal until my eyes practically bled. It was the wee hours of the morning before I finally crashed. Deep down, I already knew the punchline. They were going to hate it tomorrow anyway. I knew they would do everything in their power to force us into paying that massive penalty. Early the next morning, the CEO was already looking sharp in her sleek business suit. She tossed a brand new uniform right at me since my arm was still strapped in a cast. There was zero chance I could change clothes by myself. So yeah, I actually got to experience what it's like having the stunning CEO of a public company personally dress me. When she slipped off my shirt, exposing my rock-hard 8-pack abs, I could totally feel her eyes lingering, secretly checking me out. Once I caught her staring, she practically squeezed her eyes shut the entire time. After buttoning me up, she cleared her throat. Let's go. I hopped into her luxury ride, and we sped off to the battleground for this negotiation. They booked a private, overly lavish room in a 5-star hotel for this collaboration meeting. The second we pushed the doors open, that shady partner was already smirking at me. I've heard the rumors that your CEO is as beautiful as a flower, but seeing you in person, you are truly extraordinary. His sleazy eyes locked completely onto her. As for me, I got nothing but a mocking sneer. That's when I noticed they didn't even leave a damn chair for me. Please, have a seat. Today, we really need to dive deep into the finer details of our collaboration. The guy running the show was a bald, incredibly greasy, middle-aged creep. From the exact second we walked in, his creepy gaze was glued to the CEO. Since I didn't have a chair, I just stood awkwardly beside her like a total clown. His 2 corporate lackeys were openly snickering, pointing at me like I was a joke. My anger meter was redlining. I was ready to snap. But out of pure respect for the CEO, I swallowed my rage. I just stood there, biting my tongue. Then the greasy man sneered. I have heard great things about your stellar corporate reputation, but seeing this today, it really is just as the rumors say. Do you honestly not even grasp basic hospitality? But before I could even explode, the CEO calmly picked up her glass, took a deliberate sip of water, and swept her icy gaze across the room. Do you idiots even know how to speak? Don't think for a second that just because you're a boss, you can run your mouth at us. How exactly do we lack hospitality? He's just a lowly salesman. What right does he have to sit at the table with us? The CEO fired back immediately. Can these 2 lapdogs beside you speak on your behalf? Suddenly, her absolute queen-like aura erupted in that room. She didn't even blink. Standing right next to her, my blood was boiling with sheer excitement. I honestly never expected our beautiful CEO to be this incredibly badass when she went into full domineering mode. Shut up, you 2 useless things. My salesman is a core member of my company. What are your 2 goons, not just salesmen themselves? The greasy boss stammered. It was our oversight. Please don't be angry. They had clearly planned to hit me with a show of force right out of the gate. Because my last proposal didn't meet their impossible standards, they wanted to humiliate me. But they completely underestimated my CEO. They never expected her to protect her employees so fiercely. A terrified waiter quickly rushed over, placing a comfortable chair right next to my boss. And just like that, the high-stakes negotiation officially began. Start your performance, she commanded. She looked just like a commanding empress giving an order to her loyal knight. I cleared my throat and spoke up. All right, this isn't our first time working together. We're all old acquaintances here, so I will keep it incredibly brief. Your demands are, quite frankly, impossible to meet. The second those words left my mouth, the greasy boss slammed his hands on the table and stood up. Now look here, President Lin, we are collaborating with the utmost sincerity. But unfortunately, your salesman's abilities are severely lacking. Tell me, would you consider this a breach of contract? That greasy bastard's mouth was practically splitting into a sickening, greedy grin. Because he knew the trap was set. If our company couldn't deliver the product to their exact impossible requirements, we'd owe them a massive penalty. An absolutely exorbitant price. A sum so huge it would instantly crush our cash flow and collapse the entire company. But I just smiled. Don't be in such a rush. Is your midlife crisis hitting you so hard that you can't even keep your cool? Seeing that greasy creep's smug little smirk made my blood boil. The filthy way he was looking at our CEO. Yeah, that pissed me off to absolutely no end. What did you just say? He snapped. I stared right back. I'm saying this little collaboration of ours can continue. However, as the hired party, I need to make a demand of you right now. And listen closely. This isn't a polite request. It is an absolute demand. According to the dotted line we signed, the client is required to hand over a complete contract, a full project plan, the product requirements, and strict proof of company qualifications. I casually flipped through the stack of documents in my hand, letting the silence stretch out as I spoke. I even made sure to flash the papers right in their faces, deliberately proving that their so-called proof of qualifications was completely missing. It has been exactly 2 months now. We have only received your basic contract and the product demands. But as for your company's actual proof of qualifications, we haven't seen a single shred of it. Hearing that, the greasy boss grabbed a wet wipe from the table and nervously dabbed his sweating forehead. He kept his mouth shut, but his 2 corporate lapdogs immediately started barking. We already paid you the commission fee. Your only job right now is to shut up and deliver a product that makes us happy. What proof of qualifications? You take the money, you do the work. That is exactly what you are supposed to do. I looked at the 2 of them like they were absolute morons. With a dramatic sigh, I tossed the contract right onto the table in front of them. What we signed back then was nothing more than a basic confirmation signature for the agreement, along with a sign-off on the product design. However, without the contractual proof acknowledging your company's actual qualifications, we never legally signed off that we could meet those ridiculous product demands. So, first things first, I need to reconfirm if your sketchy company actually has the capability to pull this off. In other words, if you seriously want to beat the top-tier products on the market, then you need to provide our side with 100% complete proof of qualifications. I am talking about your registered capital, a real project plan, and your total estimated investment. Right at the climax of my little speech, I picked up the water glass sitting in front of me and took a massive, dramatic gulp. But then I locked eyes with the CEO and my stomach instantly dropped. I had just chugged from the exact same cup she had been drinking out of. Ahem! I coughed loudly twice, trying to play off the incredibly awkward tension filling the air. Anyway, based on the insanely high-end design concept you demanded, you need to show a solid proof of an estimated investment of around 1.5 billion. If you cannot prove you actually have the cash and capability to maintain a project of this size, we have the absolute right to unilaterally terminate the entire contract. Bam! As soon as those words left my mouth, the other side was completely dumbfounded. They sat there paralyzed, having zero clue what to do next. The truth was, they had never even considered this issue. They just wanted to assign us an impossible task to bleed us dry with a massive penalty fee. Oh wait, I almost forgot the best part. I totally forgot to tell you guys. Starting from the exact moment the contract notification was signed, there is a strict 3-month deadline. You have to show us your official proof of qualifications. And checking the calendar right now, you only have exactly 1 month left on the clock. Of course, I genuinely hope you can manage to produce this proof. After all, a successful collaboration is a win-win for everyone involved, right? But I do have to remind you all, it is getting dangerously close to the end of the year. The notary office is about to go on a long holiday, so you had better hurry up and scramble. If you cannot produce that proof within the legal time limit, we have every right to suspect you of flat-out contract fraud. But hey, I imagine a massive, reputable company like yours would never do something so cheap and shameless, right? Acting like a total gentleman, I stood up from the table, offered a polite bow, and extended my hand. The CEO smoothly played right along with my act. Well, if there is nothing else to discuss, we will be taking our leave. I sincerely hope we get the chance to work together again, but only after you actually secure your qualifications. Because otherwise, for a unilateral breach of contract like this, you are going to be the ones coughing up a massive penalty. With that epic mic drop, the CEO and I walked right out of that private room. Man, that felt incredibly satisfying. The second we got back into the car, I pumped my fist hard into the air. Every single ounce of gloom in my heart vanished in a flash. Not only did we survive the company's biggest crisis, we totally flipped the script on those scammers. So, you were up working until the middle of the night yesterday just to find their legal loophole. The CEO's tone completely shifted, melting from her usual icy coldness into something much warmer and softer. After all, with this disaster handled, our company had just narrowly escaped absolute ruin. I leaned all the way back into the plush passenger seat and flashed her a smug grin. Of course I was. There is absolutely no way anyone could have designed that ridiculous product. It is painfully obvious they were just trying to set us up, which means there is 100% a mole inside our own company. Honestly, that is the only logical way a garbage contract like this ever got signed in the first place. I was, up until midnight last night, reading through every single page 5 or 6 times before I finally spotted the loophole. Within 1 month, they legally have to prove their company has 1.5 billion in liquid assets. That is complete and utter fantasy for them. But hey, let's just worry about crushing them after the new year. When the deadline hits, you can just unleash the legal team and sue them into the ground. Oh, and definitely remember to fire whichever employee originally signed that contract. They are absolutely the traitor. I just kept happily rambling on, completely oblivious to the dangerous, intense way the CEO was suddenly staring at me. Are you seriously trying to tell me how to do my own job? Hearing the sudden icy shift back in her tone, I bolted upright in a total panic. I stared at her, frantically shaking my head side to side. No, I wouldn't dare. It was just a suggestion, a tiny, harmless little suggestion. As for what actually happens next, you are the big boss calling the shots. After all, you are the boss, I said. Seeing my desperate attempt to kiss up, the icy CEO actually cracked a smile. You did a great job bumping up your year-end bonus by 60%, she said. I want sweet and sour pork ribs for dinner tonight. Seeing her lighten up, I practically danced with joy. Like a general commanding his troops, I grandly waved my arm forward. You got it? Let's go. Let's head home. Hearing that, the CEO turned to look at me, and I just flashed her a big, warm smile right back. It seemed like it had been a really long time since anyone had said, let's go home to her. Suddenly, ding dong, I pulled out my phone. It was a video call from my mum. Son, it's almost the new year. When do you get time off? Is that psycho boss of yours making you work overtime again? My dear mother's sweet, kind face filled the screen the second I answered. But her words were an absolute death sentence. Why? Because the psycho boss she was trashing was sitting right next to me. No way, Mom. I panicked. Our boss is brilliant and wise. Her leadership is flawless. When did I ever call her a psycho? She takes amazing care of me. You definitely misheard me. In that split second, I used every single word of praise I could possibly think of, denying everything like my life depended on it. My mom just looked completely confused. Huh? What did you tell me yourself last time? You said that because of a tiny mistake you made last month, your boss docked your pay. You even called her an absolute demon, and you were asking if she had irregular periods or something. I'm pretty sure that's what you said. Mom, I am begging you on my knees. Please stop talking. If you keep going, I probably won't live to make it home for the new year. Son, is someone right next to you? Is this a bad time to talk? Okay. Why didn't you just say so? Hearing that, I wanted to burst into tears. Mom, if only you had been this sharp just a few minutes earlier. What was the point of shutting up now? She'd already heard every single word. Son, come home early for the new year, my mum continued. The house is completely full of cats now. Didn't you say you love cats the most? Your dad is making really good money breeding them now. If you are not happy at that company, just come on back and work with your dad. You won't have to take any crap from your horrible boss anymore. Sure enough, the world really is a flat circle. She literally just realized someone was next to me and stopped her ranting. But 2 sentences later, she circled right back to roasting my boss. Then, my mum flipped the camera, and our old courtyard quickly appeared on the screen. There were at least 100 adorable ragdoll cats running all over the yard, meowing right at the camera. Looking at that massive yard full of cats, my heart actually ached just a little bit. I originally thought that by landing a good job, I could finally be a good, supportive son. But I never expected I'd still have to let my elderly parents start a whole new business just to pave the way for their disappointing kid. Mom, please don't work yourselves too hard, I said softly. At your age, you guys should be resting and just enjoying life. Oh, right, son. I almost forgot to tell you. Your dad was just elected as the village chief. You can basically be considered a wealthy heir now. Hearing my mum brag like this, I slowly turned to peek at the CEO. I caught her pressing her lips together, trying her absolute hardest to hold back a laugh. The very first thing your dad did after taking office was renovate the old city god temple in our village. A lot of the villagers really respect him now. In a little while, he's even going to have them all raise cats together so the whole village can strike it rich. Right after saying that, my mum sent over a photo of the village's city god temple. And by the time I frantically tried to stop her, it was way too late. The bright, newly renovated city god temple was displayed directly in front of me and the CEO. The CEO didn't pay much attention when she first glanced at the photo, but a split second later, she quickly realized something. She whipped out her own phone, scrolled through a specific chat history, and pulled up a photo of her own, zooming in to compare the two pictures. Mom, if there is nothing else, I am going to hang up now. I will come back and see you when the New Year holidays start. With that, I quickly hung up the video call. I sat back in the passenger seat, completely pretending that nothing had just happened. But in reality, I was nervously stealing glances at the CEO from the corner of my eye. Look, isn't this place the city god temple in your hometown? Unexpectedly, the CEO suddenly shoved her phone over to me. She had zoomed right in on the city god temple in her photo for me to see. Probably not, I lied. Basically, every single village has a city god temple just like this. There is no way it could be that much of a coincidence that it's the one in my village. I know, she murmured softly. Let's go home. Go make those sweet and sour pork ribs. The CEO, surprisingly, didn't dwell on the matter any further. After dinner, I was quietly tidying up the living room while the CEO went back to her room. Then, a message popped up. Are you there? I saw a building today that looks exactly like the one in your photo. It felt so incredibly similar. I don't know if you are there right now. You haven't replied to my messages in 3 days. Are you doing well over there? I really want to go find you, even if it's just to see you one more time. The phone in my pocket buzzed non-stop. I pulled it out and stared at the screen, seeing these deeply personal messages sent directly from the CEO. For a long moment, I had absolutely no idea what to say. Right then, I truly despised myself. I was such a coward that I couldn't even confess to the girl I liked face to face. I just wanted to be brave for once in my miserable life. But thinking about the terrifying fallout of actually being brave, it might lead to a total blowout. Or maybe we would never see each other again. We might permanently destroy the only relationship we had left in this lifetime. And just like that, the two of us, each weighed down by our own heavy thoughts, drifted into a peaceful sleep. But that peace only lasted until midnight. A sudden knock at my door jolted me awake. I groggily pulled it open, only to freeze in my tracks. Standing right there, wearing nothing but her pajamas, was my boss. Her eyes were completely bloodshot, and honestly, seeing her like that just made my heart ache. I didn't even have a single second to admire her perfect figure. Let's go to your hometown tomorrow, okay? The question came totally out of nowhere, leaving me completely stunned and scrambling for a response. Before my brain could even process what she was saying, she pulled a laptop from behind her back. I had someone look into it, she muttered. There are exactly 246 villages out there with a city god temple. I gathered every single one of them and compared the photos, one by one. The only one that perfectly matches the photo is the one in your village. Please, take me there. Hearing the raw desperation in her voice made my chest tighten fiercely. I never in a million years expected that a picture I just casually snapped would push her to go to such crazy lengths. Boss, why are you so obsessed with the temple in my village? I asked gently. A lot of the big temples right here in the city are known to work wonders too, you know. Whether you're praying for good money, a solid marriage, or even having kids. She cut me off right there. I need to see someone. Her expression was completely shattered and desolate. What does this guy owe you money or something? I tried to joke, hoping to lighten the mood. Slowly, she nodded. But a split second later, her eyes brimmed with fresh tears. He owes me so much more than just money. I have to find him. Please. Just come home with me so I can take a look. Please? At that point, I honestly couldn't find a single reason to say no. This untouchable, high and mighty CEO was standing in my doorway, practically begging me. Seeing me finally nod, she looked relieved and quietly went back to her room. Just as expected, her actions were as ruthless and swift as her business deals. First thing the next morning, I stumbled into the living room only to find 2 massive suitcases waiting for me. She was already fully dressed and sitting sharply on the sofa, looking totally prepared. You have exactly 30 minutes to wash up and get dressed. I already approved your time off. We are leaving right now. She didn't give me a single second to argue. She just sat there, staring intensely at the clock. I knew the countdown was already on, so I practically threw myself into the bathroom in a total panic. Scrubbing my face and taking a lightning-fast shower took less than 15 minutes. Freshly dressed, I stood by the door and flashed her a confident smile. Bring those suitcases downstairs, she ordered. It is my first time visiting your family. I had no idea what your parents would actually like, so I basically just bought a little bit of everything. Let me tell you, it took absolutely superhuman strength just to haul those 2 giant bags all the way down to her luxury car. Out of nowhere, she tossed a shiny set of car keys right at my face. I barely caught them. We are heading to your turf, so you are driving. She slipped straight into the passenger seat. Well, what are you waiting for? A few agonizing minutes passed. Seeing me frozen like a statue on the pavement, she rolled down her tinted window and glared at me. I shifted on my feet, feeling incredibly awkward. Our boss? I actually don't know how to drive. The moment those words left my mouth, she slowly lowered her sunglasses and stared at me like I was an alien. Hey, do not give me that look. I shot back defensively. I seriously do not know how. I pedal a clunky shared bike to the office every single day. Plus, I have been working at your company for ages. When have you ever seen me behind the wheel of a car? To drive my point home, I dramatically pointed right at my heavily bandaged left hand. And even if I did have a license, I definitely cannot steer with this busted hand. Unless, of course, you want us both to drive off a cliff together. I tilted my chin up, feeling weirdly proud of my uselessness. The message was crystal clear. What are you going to do about it? Seeing my insanely punchable, smug face, I could tell she wanted to reach out and strangle me right there. Letting out a heavy sigh, she helplessly massaged her temples. Honestly, she had completely forgotten that I was even injured. After all, I had been whipping up meals so nimbly for the past few days that she had just subconsciously treated me like a totally able-bodied guy. Fine. Switch seats. Wearing an expression as dark as thunder, she snatched the keys right out of my hand, fired up the roaring engine, and peeled out toward my hometown. I pulled up the GPS on my phone. It was going to take us a solid 4 hours to get there. To kill the time, she and I started chatting, and I shared a bunch of crazy stories from growing up in the countryside. I told her about wading deep into the muddy river to catch fat frogs barehanded, wrestling fish with my wild friends, and the giant yellow dog guarding the village gates that would absolutely chase me for my life every single time it saw me. She listened to every word with intense fascination. She had never experienced anything close to that kind of carefree joy, having been relentlessly groomed as a corporate heir from the day she could walk. No playtime, no normal childhood, just an endless, suffocating cycle of strict tutoring and high-stakes business deals. Sitting there in that car, the dynamic between us shifted in a really subtle, comforting way. We were no longer a strict boss and her lowly employee. We were just 2 good friends sharing a ride. With all our chatting, that 4-hour drive flew by in a flash. By late afternoon, we finally rolled right into the very village where I was born and raised. Good Lord! Whose fancy car is that? It looks incredibly expensive, doesn't it? Just look at that sleek matte paint job. I swear. Just last month, my daughter was telling me her rich boss bought a ride exactly like that one. The second our tires hit the dirt roads, we were completely swarmed by locals pointing and gossiping about the flashy vehicle. For decades, the young people had only ever packed up and left this small town. Nobody who made it out ever bothered coming back. So the absolute minute we showed up, we became the undeniable center of attention. Oh my goodness, wait. Isn't that Leah's boy? Chens! I never expected you to become such a massive big shot after being gone for so long. You really hit the jackpot, kid. Completely trapped by the eager crowd, my boss felt way too awkward to keep driving. She threw it in park and slowly rolled down her window. The villagers instantly recognized me. All right. We won't hold you up anymore, they laughed. Hurry back and see your folks. If they know you're back, they're definitely going to be grinning from ear to ear. Leaving the enthusiastic crowd of villagers behind, the CEO drove us toward my house. Even from a distance, I could hear a chorus of cats meowing from my courtyard. An older man, with his back to us, was constantly tossing out handfuls of cat food. It didn't really look like he was raising them. It looked more like he was just looking for a little comfort. Dad, I called out, scrambling out of the car, my voice instantly choking up. My dad turned around, completely stunned at first. You brat! You finally remembered to come home and see your old man? He yelled, his voice cracking. Honey, come out here, quick! Our boy is finally back. Over these past few years, I could see the grey hair really creeping into my father's temples. Tears welled up in my eyes before I could even stop them. Hearing the commotion, my mum rushed out of the house in her apron. When she saw me, she completely lost it. She sprinted over and pulled me into a crushing hug, which immediately flared up my injury. Ow, Mom, easy, gentle. Your son is hurt. Hearing me yelp in pain, she yanked herself back to look. When she saw my left arm trapped in a cast, she looked like she was about to burst into tears. How did this happen? She panicked. How did you get hurt this badly? I nervously scratched my head. I just took a bad fall. I lied. Beside me, the CEO lowered her head in pure embarrassment, staying totally quiet. Following my awkward glance, my mum finally noticed the stunning woman I'd brought back. Oh my, this girl is gorgeous. Are you Chenz's girlfriend? Mom, no, we're friends, the CEO blurted out, cutting me off, frantically trying to explain the situation. Unfortunately, my parents weren't buying a single word of it. They just kept nodding with these knowing smirks, basically saying, we get it, you're young, old man, we have a guest. Hurry up and cook something good. Hearing he could drink, my dad suddenly looked like he'd just chugged 3 energy drinks. Wait, why weren't you allowed to drink? I asked, hauling our bags into the house. Your dad was diagnosed with some liver issues a while back. My mum sighed. The doctor strictly told him no more heavy drinking, so I've had him on a tight leash lately, but seeing you back today, I'm letting him have a little cheat day. Now it made sense. No wonder my dad was hyped up like a kid on Christmas just now. Auntie, I haven't even properly introduced myself yet. The CEO stepped in. My name is Lin Aoksu. I'm Chenz's friend. I heard he was heading home for the new year. So I shamelessly tagged along. I really hope I'm not intruding. Oh my goodness, what are you even saying? You have no idea how thrilled your uncle and I are to have you. This stubborn boy hasn't brought a single girl home in all these years. You're the absolute first. And honestly, I hope you're the last. I just stood awkwardly to the side, sealing my lips shut, because the more you try to explain these things, the messier they get. Soon enough, my dad whipped up a massive feast, and the 4 of us gathered around the table. My mum just kept piling food into Lin Oksue's bowl, embarrassing me with wild stories from when I was a kid, only occasionally pausing to ask how I'd been doing. Seriously, you'd think Lin Aoksu was her own biological daughter. Funny enough, that was the exact moment I finally learned my own CEO's full name. After dinner, I tried to help clear the table, but my mum completely refused, using my busted arm as an excuse. She ordered me to take Aoksu out for a nice evening stroll instead. Left with absolutely no choice. I ended up walking her around the quiet village. Suddenly, as we were strolling, a blurry yellow figure pounced right at me. Whoa! De Huang! Quit messing around! I laughed. You used to chase me down and bite me, and now you're just aggressively licking me, huh? I struggled to stay upright, gently holding the big yellow dog down. Smiling, I gave his head a rough pat. When I was a little kid, De Huang was easily the most hyper, energetic dog in the entire village. But just as I grew up, De Huang grew old. Looking closely, even his scruffy whiskers and eyebrows had faded to a snowy white. Feeling a sudden wave of nostalgia, I dug into my pocket and pulled out half a leftover sausage, getting ready to toss it to him. But when I looked back down, De Huang was nowhere to be seen. By the time I blinked, That traitor had already dashed over to Lin Aoxu's feet, wagging his tail like crazy, begging for her attention. "Hey, you ungrateful little mutt," I scoffed. "You aren't even this hyped up to see your oldest friend. I was literally about to feed you, yet a pretty girl shows up for the very first time, and she instantly wins you over? You absolute little pervert." Still, despite my griping, I tactfully stepped back and gave them some space. I just watched the two of them interact, faced with such an overly enthusiastic dog. Lin Aoxu was a little spooked at first, but driven by pure curiosity, she squatted down and couldn't resist giving his head a gentle pet. Instantly, Da Huang wagged his tail even harder, practically vibrating with joy. "Well, he really likes you," I said. Seeing the icy CEO and the old farm dog getting along so perfectly, I couldn't help but let out a soft sigh. After playing with him for a bit, Lin Aoxu finally stood back up. She locked eyes with me and demanded, "Take me to see that city god temple in your village." Sigh. Sure enough, there was no dodging it. I really had no choice left. Since we were already out here, I surrendered and led Aoxu up the winding dirt paths toward the old city god temple resting on the little hill. Back in the day, when the village was still buzzing with people, the incense at that temple literally never stopped burning. As everyone ditched our rundown village to chase big city dreams, the old city god temple was left to rot, totally abandoned. Thank God my dad stepped up as village chief and fixed the place up. That's the only reason it finally got its pulse back. The CEO, my boss, Lin Aoxu, paced around the temple twice, like she was hunting for a ghost. Then, she whipped out her phone, aggressively zooming in on an old photo. Sure, the temple was a total wreck back then, looking nothing like the polished shrine standing in front of us today, but the bones of the place were exactly the same. Her eyes darted from the screen to the real thing, checking every single detail until it hit her. This was definitely the spot. After a long, heavy silence, she spun around, her voice completely vulnerable. "Hey, could you take a picture for me?" Sure, I mumbled, totally thrown off. I gently took her phone, found a killer angle, and snapped the shot. The second I handed it back, she fired off a message. "I'm here. This is the place. If you're anywhere near, please, just come see me." The cool evening breeze caught her beautiful hair, making her look absolutely stunning, yet so painfully heartbroken. Seeing that shattered, completely lost look on her face, everything inside me screamed to pull her into a massive hug, to just yell at the top of my lungs that I was the guy she was looking for, that I completely loved her. But I choked. Right up to the very end, my feet stayed glued to the ground. Honestly, the second we rolled into town, I knew my stupid lie was dead on arrival. We had blazing fast 5G out here now. There was zero chance a message wouldn't go through. And she was way too sharp. She probably already put together that her mysterious online boyfriend wasn't out of service, he was just ghosting her. "Chenzei," she started, her voice barely a whisper. "If someone you cared about was hiding, absolutely refusing to see you, why do you think they'd do that?" She shoved her phone into her pocket, her face practically radiating, crushing disappointment. She turned to look at me, demanding an answer. I awkwardly shrugged. Well, unless they owe you money and are dodging the debt, maybe they're just dealing with some heavy personal stuff?" Yeah, that answer definitely didn't fly. She brushed past me, marching straight into the temple where fresh incense sat ready on the altar. Without missing a beat, she tore open a pack, lit a few sticks, and carefully placed them right into the bronze burner. She squeezed her eyes shut, praying with everything she had that he would just show up. Even if it was just for one glance, just to know he was real. She just stood there, completely frozen in time. When she finally opened her eyes and turned, her intense gaze locked dead onto mine. "Hate to break it to you, but our local city god isn't exactly known for granting miracles," I joked with a weak smile. She just let out a heavy, defeated sigh. She closed the gap between us and naturally hooked her arm through mine. "Let's just go back," she murmured. Seeing the boss so completely crushed, my mind went totally blank. I literally couldn't find the words. I just let her drag me back down the road. But the second we hit my driveway, before we even opened the gate, we heard my folks loud and clear. "Hey, do you think that gorgeous girl is our boy's actual girlfriend?" My dad whispered. "Oh, please. How is that even possible?" My mum shot back. Look at her. She screams old money and high class. She's loaded. I can't even pronounce the names of the fancy gifts she brought us. Half the labels are straight up in English. Hearing them totally fanboy over her, she suddenly stopped dead in her tracks instead of walking in. Instead, she yanked my arm, pinning me to the wall outside the gate so we could shamelessly eavesdrop. Man, if those two are really a thing, our ancestors must be working overtime. I just wonder if a girl that rich is going to force their future kids to take her last name. Listening to my parents plan out my imaginary children, I prayed the earth would just open up and swallow me alive. But she? Totally unfazed, cool as a cucumber. I don't know, honey, the way she looks at our boy, I swear she's head over heels for him. My jaw hit the floor. I snapped my head around to stare at her, desperately searching her eyes for a reaction, but she was rocking a totally unreadable poker face. Ahem. I coughed extra loud, deliberately busting up their little gossip session before things got way out of hand. If I let them keep talking, who knows what insane wedding plans they'd start drawing up. Seeing me with the boss, my parents practically leaped out of their chairs to welcome us. They immediately started scrambling, dragging out massive plates of fresh fruit. Oh, by the way, Uncle, she said to my dad, Chenze actually took me to see the old temple today. I heard it got a fresh renovation. Was that your doing, sir? My dad puffed out his chest. Well, the village trusted me to be their chief, so I figured it was time to step up and give back to the community. But honestly, it wasn't exactly recent. We wrapped up those repairs almost 6 months ago. Hearing this, my blood ran completely cold. She just gave a slow, deliberate nod. She didn't say a single word, but I knew I was absolutely dead meat. The photo of the ruined temple I had sent her just 3 days ago, the timelines totally contradicted each other. By some absolute miracle, she didn't call me out on it. Later that night, my parents set up 2 separate, freshly cleaned rooms for us. Pitch black outside. I was finally out cold when a sudden, sharp knock at my bedroom door shocked me awake. I groggily rubbed my eyes and cracked the door open. Unbelievable. She was standing right there, dressed in nothing but her thin pajamas. Again, boss, come on! Bothering me at your massive house is one thing. But we're in my tiny village now. Aren't you terrified the neighbors are going to start vicious rumors? She could not care less. She pushed right past me, waltzed into my room, claimed a spot on my bed, and just stared me down in dead silence. Seriously, boss, what do you want now? I'm absolutely exhausted. Just let me get some sleep, okay? I groaned, having zero clue what kind of chaotic game this woman was playing tonight. But one thing was for sure. By tomorrow morning, the entire village was going to be buzzing about a gorgeous city girl barging into my bedroom in the middle of the freaking night. I sent you a file. Accept it. Groggy and half asleep, I pulled out my phone. I unlocked the screen, getting ready to accept it. But the next second, a video call popped up. At that exact moment, I still had no clue what was about to hit me. Out of pure reflex, I hit accept. The second Lin Aoxu's cold face filled my screen, I knew I was completely screwed. It was too late. My mind went totally blank. I didn't have a single word to say. I didn't even dare to look her in the eye. I could only keep my head down, staring a hole into my phone screen while bearing the crushing weight of Lin Aoxu's icy glare. Could you maybe give me a chance to explain? I muttered, but she didn't say a single word. She just turned around and walked away, leaving me standing there all alone like an absolute idiot. It was over. All of it. In that split second, it felt like my entire world had completely collapsed. I had no earthly idea how I was supposed to face her after a disaster like this. The whole night dragged on in agonizing silence. Early the next morning, I stepped out of my room only to bump right into Lin Aoxu walking out of hers. Morning, boss, I mumbled, but she just shot me a freezing glare and snapped her head away. I awkwardly rubbed my nose, feeling the sting of rejection. Yeah, coaxing her into forgiving me wasn't happening anytime soon. During breakfast, when my mum heard Lin Aoxu was leaving, she practically shrieked, "Wait, what? You're leaving today?" "Yeah," Lin Aoxu replied smoothly. "Something urgent came up at the company that I really need to handle. Besides, Chen's is one of our top guys. The team just can't function without him. Even though she praised me, her eyes never met mine, not even for a second." My mum shot me a knowing look, then turned back to Lin Aoxu, acting like she had just figured out some big secret. "Oh, you must be feeling a bit uncomfortable staying here, right? You young couples are usually joined at the hip. So suddenly, being apart must be super tough to get used to. Since that's the case, as a mom, I won't stand in your way. Just finish your breakfast, pack your bags, and head on back. But you absolutely have to take back all those gifts you brought. We really appreciate the sweet thought, but your dad and I could never finish all of that. We honestly didn't stand a chance against my parents' overwhelming enthusiasm. We just couldn't say no. So, exactly as all those gifts were brought in, they were packed right back into the trunk. The drive back was painfully quiet. We drove in total, suffocating silence. Finally, I just couldn't hold it in anymore. Please, just listen to my explanation. She cut me off. Explain what? How you've been lying to my face? I had absolutely no idea when she first started suspecting me. But honestly, if she really wanted me to explain everything right then and there, I didn't have a single leg to stand on. And just like that, for the entire 4-hour drive, neither of us breathed another word to each other. When we pulled up to her apartment building, I reached out to grab her bags, but she slapped my hand away. Let go. Hearing her furious, absolute tone, I could only back off and stand awkwardly to the side. But suddenly her ankle rolled and she tumbled hard onto the pavement. Panicking, I rushed forward to help her up. Get away from me! She snapped. Lin Aoksu cursed at me, gritted her teeth, and stubbornly dragged her heavy suitcase step by agonizing step into the lobby. Watching her silhouette disappear into the shadows, a sinking feeling hit me. I was probably never going to set foot in her place ever again. I dragged myself back home, feeling utterly hollow. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the spare key I had hidden earlier. Back then, I hid it just to keep up my stupid lie. But looking back at all my pathetic schemes right now, I realized I was nothing but a massive joke. A total clown. I went to such ridiculous lengths just to hide who I really was. And what did I get for it? Absolutely nothing. I lost it all. Staring at the dead, empty walls of my apartment, I felt like my soul had been ripped out. I sat frozen on the couch for God knows how long, before finally dragging myself to the bathroom to splash some cold water on my face. Staring at my pathetic, washed-out reflection in the mirror, I just couldn't hold back. I slapped myself hard across the face. Chens, you absolute coward, I muttered. If you really love her, then man up and go after her. What do you have to lose? With that spark of courage, I cleaned myself up, bought a gift, and marched right back to the courtyard beneath her apartment. Aokshu, I love you. I yelled, standing right in the middle of a giant heart made of lit candles. Gripping a massive bouquet of flowers in my trembling hands, I screamed at the top of my lungs at her window, Please, just give me one real chance to win you over. My voice echoed wildly through the entire apartment complex. But there was zero response. Dead silence. Akshu! I yelled again. Look, even if you're going to sentence me to death, you've got to at least give me a chance for some final words, right? I know I lied to you. But back then, I honestly had no clue who you were. I never, ever expected that the girl I was falling for would actually turn out to be my boss. Just as those words left my mouth, I heard a window slide open up above. My heart leaped and I quickly looked up. But it wasn't Lin Aoksu. It was some random dude wearing a pink kitchen apron. Don't stop now, bro. Keep going, he cheered. I just stood there, completely and utterly speechless. The guy was literally snacking on a handful of sunflower seeds, watching me like a soap opera. I swallowed my pride and kept shouting. Because of the massive gap in our status, I was terrified you'd find out. I was so scared that if you knew the truth, you'd walk away from me. Right after I yelled that, a bunch more windows slid open. Half the residents in the complex were poking their heads out now. Oh, snap! What happened next? Someone shouted. Yeah, then what? Yelled another. Seeing a whole crowd of strangers staring at me, my face burned with intense embarrassment. But I knew, deep down, if I choked and backs down now, I'd never get another shot at her. I admit it. I lied to you. I yelled out again. I was a massive coward. I felt totally useless, but that night when I was cooking dinner in your kitchen, watching the way your eyes lit up when you smiled and ate, I knew right then and there that I had completely fallen for you. Do you have any idea how incredibly happy I was in that exact moment? My desperate confession actually won over a bunch of the female neighbors who immediately started loudly scolding their own husbands. I finally figured it out. Even if you are the big boss, I'm still going to fight for a chance with you. Just give me a chance to prove that I love you. Even if it means I never see a paycheck again, I'm okay with that. When I yelled that out, the onlookers around me completely burst into laughter. Some actually thought my reckless stupidity was kind of cute. If you don't come down today, I'm going to stand here forever. Throwing that out there, I made up my mind, clutching the bouquet and refusing to move a single muscle. Just like that, a massive crowd of nosy onlookers gathered. Word spread like wildfire, jumping from 10 people to 100 in seconds. Faces peeked out from the upper windows, while the crowd around me packed the courtyard so tightly you couldn't have squeezed a pin through. But time just kept ticking by. Minute after agonizing minute. Half an hour later, the crowd started losing their patience. "Hey man," someone called out, "why don't you just let it go? Doesn't look like she has any intention of coming down." Voices buzzed around me, trying to talk me down. If it's not working, just give up. Ignoring them, I tipped my head back and screamed upstairs with all my might. Do I really not have a chance left? The entire courtyard went dead silent. Staring at the empty entrance of the building, the crushing reality hit me. Maybe I really didn't have a chance anymore. As the last candle flickered and died, my hopes completely shattered too. Dropping my head in defeat, I prepared to head back. The crowd silently parted to make way for me, and I caught every single look thrown my way. Some showed pity, some disappointment, and some smug jerks were totally eating up my public humiliation. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the silence. "What are you doing here?" My head snapped up, locking eyes with a totally stunned Lin Aokshu. Then, I noticed the jam-packed shopping cart next to her. It hit me like a truck. She had gone grocery shopping this whole time. She wasn't even home. All that gut-wrenching emotion I just poured out was completely wasted, and there was no way in hell I was doing that cheesy confession all over again. I instantly chucked the flowers aside, lunged forward, and yanked Lin Aokshu tightly into my arms. "What are you doing? Let go of me right now! Do you hear me?" she panicked. "Don't squeeze so hard. My arm still hurts. Please," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Just let me hold you for a bit. Just for a little bit." I buried my face into Lin Aokshu's shoulder, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair. The crowd around us erupted into cheers, chanting non-stop, "Get together! Get together!" Flustered, she mumbled, "Let go of me first. Let's just go home and talk." Okay. With hundreds of eyes on us, Lin Aokshu couldn't handle the sheer embarrassment and begged me to release her. The second I heard we could go times home, I bolted upright, nodding like an absolute maniac. I smoothly took the shopping cart from her hands and pushed it as we hurried back. Seeing this, Lin Aokshu practically jogged to keep up with my pace, desperate to escape before she died of utter humiliation. "Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it," I yelled back to the crowd. "When we get married, I'm definitely sending you all invitations." Lin Aokshu instantly reached over and twisted my ear. "Haven't you embarrassed us enough?" she hissed. "Just wait and see how I deal with you when we get inside." My ear was screaming in pain, but honestly, my heart was fluttering like crazy. It felt incredibly sweet. The second we walked through the door and she sat on the couch, I marched straight over and dropped to my knees with a heavy thud. I know I was wrong, I whined, hanging my head like a pitiful kicked puppy. But a second later, my eyes drifted up, straight to Lin Aokshu's gorgeous long legs, wrapped in black tights, right in front of my face. My brain short-circuited. I instantly forgot every single word I was about to say. Lin Aokshu, who had been waiting for my grand explanation, caught me staring blankly at her legs. She instantly snapped them back and crossed them tightly on the sofa. "Keep staring, and I will literally gouge your eyes out." Startled, I quickly wiped the imaginary drool from my mouth and stammered, "I'm not looking. I swear, I'm not looking. Besides, you came looking for me today. So it kind of feels like you're here to propose." I puffed my chest out. "So, will you marry me?" I tried to use that as my excuse to stand up, but Lin Aokshu shot me a death glare that pinned me right back to the floor. Yeah, I didn't dare act crazy anymore. "Look, I know I lied to you," I admitted softly. "I played with your feelings. But even before I knew who you really were, I honestly wanted to go the distance with you." Dropping the goofy act completely, I lifted my head and stared deeply into Lin Aokshu's eyes. She gave absolutely zero reaction. Her icy stare meant one thing: keep talking. If you don't explain this perfectly, don't even think about standing up. When we had that meeting later, and I finally found out who you were, I was scared half to death back then, I confessed. You were this high and mighty CEO, and I was just a lowly employee working under you. I felt like we were completely hopeless. Hearing my confession, Lin Aokshu's face flushed beet red. She suddenly remembered that even times after times, knowing her real identity, I had the absolute nerve to give her master's tasks and even made her wear those humiliating outfits out to dinner with me. Bum. The more she thought about it, the more furious she got, kicking me squarely in the chest and knocking me flat on the floor. Hey, what was that for? I groaned in total confusion. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart here. Nothing. I just felt like kicking you, she huffed. Cut the crap and keep confessing. Sulking, I pulled myself back up into a pitiful kneel and went back to detailing my crimes. And then, when you accidentally hurt me and brought me back to your place, seeing how completely clumsy you were at cooking, you just times what? She challenged. Holding her gaze with absolute sincerity, I answered, I just wanted to take care of you for the rest of my life. Lin Aokshu visibly softened under my intense gaze, feeling suddenly shy, especially after that last line hit her. A massive blush exploded across her cheeks. Smooth talker, she muttered, rolling her eyes in fake annoyance. Yeah, I finally had this all figured out. Look, no matter who you are, everyone has the right to chase their own happiness. I'm not expecting a yes from you right this second. I just hope you can give me a fighting chance to win you over. I swear I will prove how much I love you. In that moment, my face was dead serious. My stare was so intense that even Lin Aokshu's cheeks flushed a deep, burning red. Hearing that, Lin Aokshu shot me a haughty look and crossed her arms. Whether I give you a chance or not completely depends on your performance. I want something delicious for dinner tonight. The second I heard her say that, I jumped right up, playing the part of a loyal servant. You got it, boss. Leave everything to me, my VIP customer. Moving at lightning speed, I grabbed all the groceries Lin Aokshu had just bought and laid them out. I cherry-picked a few of her absolute favorites and got straight to work in the kitchen. Man, this was a fantastic start. She was actually willing to give me a shot instead of tossing me out onto the street. If I knocked this dinner out of the park, my chances were sky high. Here, put this on. Don't get your clothes dirty. I didn't even hear her step up, but suddenly Lin Aokshu was right behind me. Her soft hands gently wrapped around my waist as she tied the apron tight. Mwah! Before my brain could even process it, a pair of cool lips pressed a quick peck against my cheek. Then she darted away, curled up on the sofa, and just stared at me. Any chance I can get one on the other side too? I pointed a hopeful finger at my right cheek. Depends on your performance. If dinner tastes like garbage tonight, you're sleeping on the first floor. Come on, as a guy, how could I not catch the massive hint she was dropping? The subtext was loud and clear. If I crushed this meal, I could share a room with her tonight. Adrenaline totally surged through my veins. I went all out, flexing every single ounce of my culinary skills. Right behind me, Lin Aokshu sat quietly on the couch watching my every move. When she had first come home, she was absolutely furious. She felt like I'd totally played with her emotions, and for a minute she just couldn't handle it. But when she really thought about it, the guy she fell head over heels for online was the exact same man standing right in front of her. Not to mention, after spending these past few days together in person, she realized I wasn't nearly as annoying as she'd originally thought. So, her initial plan was to track me down tomorrow and just clear the air. If we truly weren't meant to be, ripping the band-aid off early would be best for both of us. But she never saw this coming. In the short time she had popped out to buy groceries, I had rushed straight over to her apartment building. Faced with my completely raw, sincere confession, Lin Aokshu finally let her guard drop. No matter which version of me she liked best, at the end of the day, it was still me. What are you staring at? Is there something on my face? Throughout the entire dinner, I couldn't take my eyes off her. I stared so hard she actually got flustered. I just nodded and flashed a cheeky grin. Yeah. A beautiful flower. I could never get tired of looking at my own wife. Who's your wife? She snapped back playfully. I haven't even agreed yet. Seeing that hopelessly shy look on her face, I pulled my phone right out of my pocket and hit play. Hubby, if we get together in the future, you have to make me delicious food every single day. Your wifey is a massive foodie, okay? Hearing her own voice, Lin Aokshu threw her chopsticks down in a panic and snatched the phone right out of my hand. Stop playing that! Oh my god, I'm dying of embarrassment! But that's when she spotted the memo app glowing on my home screen. Curiosity got the better of her, and as she scrolled through the notes, she was completely struck speechless. Today, I met this amazing girl online. We had a blast chatting, and we actually share all the same interests. She even told me to call her baby. Honestly, I was kind of embarrassed. After all, this is my very first time being in love. I finally gathered up the courage to ask for some spicy photos. I totally didn't expect her to actually send them. She has an insane figure. I'm secretly losing my mind with excitement. She told me she loves eating grilled fish, and my signature dish is literally grilled fish. Seriously, is this a match made in heaven? Line Oksu kept scrolling through my private thoughts, and her eyes quickly welled up with tears. I just found out today that the ice-cold CEO is actually my online girlfriend. But am I even worthy of her? I desperately want to pursue her, to be with her. But would a girl like that ever look twice at a regular employee like me? You know what? Whatever. I'm going to find my courage and chase after you anyway. Man, this brat has one hell of a grip, though she practically broke my arm. If we actually get together, I definitely can't let her get away with domestic abuse. Lin Akshu flipped through page after page. The notes clearly documented every single thing from the very second we met online to all the tiny, beautiful little details that followed. I had remembered it all perfectly. My cover's blown. She's completely ignoring me now. Are we really just going to end like this? I refuse to accept it. I want to be brave. Just this once. I'm going to find her. The diary entries ended right there because the author was now sitting right in front of her, smiling. I watched quietly as Lin Akshu wiped her tears away, picked up the phone, and typed out one single sentence. Then she turned the screen to face me. I am with him now. Today is our anniversary. I stared at the phone screen, and then I looked up at her. Seeing her give me a shy, trembling nod, my heart completely exploded. I lunged forward and pulled her into a bone-crushing hug, wishing I could literally merge our souls together. I swear I will never let you down. I love you, I whispered hoarsely into her ear. I know, she replied, her voice soft and tender. I gripped her shoulder tight. At that moment, our eyes locked. I just couldn't hold myself back for another second. I cupped the back of her head and kissed her deeply and completely. Lin Aoksu kissed me back with just as much burning passion. It felt as if every crazy hurdle we had faced was just the universe's ultimate test for our love. After dodging every curveball life threw at us, today was the day we finally claimed our happily ever after. The mood was absolute perfection. I was ready to scoop Lynn up and carry her straight to the bedroom, but she put the brakes on. I looked at her, confused. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Didn't you promise to wear that insanely sexy purple lingerie for me?" She was totally trying to back out. No matter how much I begged or bargained, she used my recent injury as the ultimate excuse to shut me down. So, we spent that night lying in the exact same bed, and absolutely nothing spicy happened. Instead, we just held each other close in the quiet dark, pouring our hearts out and sharing our deepest secrets until we both drifted off to sleep. Early the next morning, a panic scream jolted me awake. I cracked my eyes open to find Lynn tearing through the room like a tornado, frantically hunting for her clothes. "What's wrong, babe?" I mumbled. She shot me a death glare while wrestling with her top and snapped, "This is entirely your fault!" You just had to keep me up talking until the crack of dawn. Today is the big Monday staff meeting, and I'm going to be so late. Lying there, wrapped in those incredibly soft sheets, watching my gorgeous CEO girlfriend scramble around, I genuinely felt like the ultimate kept man. "Hey, you're the boss," I teased lazily. "The place would literally fall apart without you. You got this, honey. I'm catching some more Z's." True to my word, I passed out instantly. By the time I finally dragged myself out of bed, it was nearly noon. I showered, brushed my teeth, and got straight to cooking. When a mouth-watering lunch was ready, I packed it neatly into a cute bento box, hopped in a cab, and headed straight for her corporate headquarters. Ignoring the receptionist's completely shocked expression, I confidently pushed open the heavy doors to the CEO's office and shouted, "Honey! Did you miss me? I brought you a lovely little lunch. I made this huge, dramatic entrance only to freeze dead in my tracks a second later. The entire office was packed wall to wall with people. A wave of sheer embarrassment hit me as I suddenly remembered the golden rule of Mondays. After the regular meeting, the boss always dragged all her key executives back to her office for a deep dive briefing. Fast forward a bit, and Lynn brought me back to her hometown to officially meet her folks. Sitting at the family dinner table, my future father-in-law and I started throwing back drinks like there was no tomorrow. We got so absolutely hammered, we were practically wrestling, getting ready to swear a blood brother oath right there on the floor. If Lynn hadn't physically pulled us apart, I swear I'd be calling him brother instead of dad. Just before we hit the road, her sweet parents literally shoved 2 debit cards into my hands. They told me it was every single dime they'd managed to save up over their entire lives. One was specifically for our dream wedding, and the other was a solid nest egg for our future kid. After refusing about 1,000,000 times, I finally gave in and graciously accepted the incredibly generous gift. As soon as Lynn and I got back to our apartment that night, I wrapped my arms around her waist, flashing the most wicked grin I could muster. She looked instantly nervous. I leaned in close and whispered, "Wifey, look, your folks already funded our future baby? Shouldn't we get to work on making that baby right now? It'd be a tragedy to let all that good money go to waste." Lynn called me an absolute pervert, laughing as she tried to slip out from under the heavy covers. But the second the blanket shifted, I saw it. She was actually wearing that insanely hot purple lingerie. All my self-control vanished in an instant. I'd been agonizingly patient for way too long, and tonight I was finally claiming my prize. Letting out a wild cheer, I practically pounced on her. And sure enough, it wasn't long before we found out my beautiful Lynn was pregnant. We immediately shifted into high gear to plan the perfect wedding. Keeping a promise I'd made way back in the day, I invited literally every single neighbor from our apartment complex to join the massive celebration. At the reception, my parents were bawling their eyes out, constantly joking about how their totally average son had somehow managed to land the most perfect woman on earth. When my father-in-law walked Lynn down the aisle in a stunning white gown and placed her hand in mine, I stared at this breathtakingly beautiful woman, entirely convinced I was dreaming. "I love you with all my heart. Will you marry me?" Dropping to one knee right there, I held out the sparkling ring, gazing up at my soon-to-be wife with everything I had. Lynn gripped the microphone tightly, and with a voice that echoed through the entire venue, she smiled through happy tears and said, "I absolutely do." The second the wedding wrapped, we jetted off to explore the world for our honeymoon. Every single second of that trip, I felt like the luckiest, happiest husband alive. As the months flew by and Lynn's baby bump grew bigger and bigger, I knew she needed more help. So, I moved my parents out of their small village and straight into our complex to help take care of her. Seeing their future grandchild growing, my folks were absolutely over the moon. With a solid support team in place, Lynn officially went on full maternity leave. But that meant the massive, crushing weight of running the entire company crashed down on my shoulders. Suddenly, I was drowning in meetings from dawn till dusk. After battling through a brutal workday, I dragged my totally exhausted body back home just to start cooking perfectly balanced, ultra-nutritious meals for my pregnant wife. For 2 solid weeks, she never once asked for the same meal twice. All those midnight cravings meant Lynn put on a healthy, glowing baby weight. Me? On the other hand, I dropped 10 solid pounds just from the sheer, unending exhaustion. But before we knew it, the big day finally arrived. It was time to have our baby. Our entire family practically chewed our fingernails off, pacing outside the delivery room, right up until the doctor walked out, cradling the tiniest, most precious baby I'd ever seen. A massive, collective sigh of relief washed over us. The doctor offered me the baby, but I gently passed our newborn to my in-laws and sprinted straight into the recovery room to see my wife. Watching me put Lynn first, even before the baby, both sets of our parents shared a quiet, deeply satisfied nod of approval. Under our crazy, sleep-deprived, but incredibly loving care, our little chin grew up wonderfully healthy and strong. Embracing her new role as a mum, Lynn gracefully stepped back from her heavy duties as CEO and took on a new job. My personal, wildly overqualified secretary, which brings us to today. Another manic Monday, I stood at the head of the main conference room, leading the massive weekly staff meeting. This used to be her absolute domain, but now I was the one calling the shots, stepping right into her formidable shoes. Looking out at the sea of faces, I confidently laid out our company's future goals, giving every single task my all, knowing my ultimate happy ending was standing right there beside me. Out of nowhere, a massive text notification hijacked the projector screen for the entire room to see. The contact name was Kissy, and they had just sent me $50. The attached note was an absolute nightmare. It read, "This will help you make baby number 2.